This two-stroke pipe is severely dented, and being that we want to have as much power as possible, because, you know, I'm not that fast of a rider, we're gonna try to blow out this dent. This will be my first time using a two-stroke pipe repair kit to try to blow out dents on a two-stroke pipe. We're gonna see how this goes. This is where we're gonna put in air, and this gauge is gonna tell us how much is in. As you start to heat up the pipe, watch the gauge, make sure it doesn't go over 75. That is because you don't want it to blow this guy off the back end. Let's get this installed and let's see how this goes. Welcome to seat time. Gosh, dang it, it's gonna be awesome to get some seat time. For the part of the pipe that connects to the header, this is gonna go around that part of the flange. That is gonna keep it from getting pulled or blown off. Now, once this is on there, we're actually gonna have a gasket that is then going to sit over, right? That's just the airtight seal of this. And then once that is gonna sit on the gasket, then this guy is gonna sit on top of that, and that is how we're gonna be able to see how much pressure we have. Now, of course, we've got 4 bolts here. Tighten down those 4 bolts. The bolts around the flange, around on the actual pipe connector, those are the ones that need to be really tight. These don't need to be really tight because you're just making it snug enough for it to be airtight. You don't want it to actually be tight enough that it puts a nice big hole here in this rubber gasket. When it comes to the part here at the end that goes towards your exhaust or your muffler, this is the one that's gonna be a little bit more precarious, or the one that can fly off, because there's nothing here, there's no flange for it to catch on. Morgan from Highland Cycles had a good idea to where when you have this here connected, you could actually safety wire this to this guy. So that way if it starts to get tight, it can only go so far and it can't ever actually fly off. Or you could probably start to see it move and start to give tension to that safety wire. So that's a good idea. But the same concept comes, right? So once we get that flange on there, this is gonna be for our air seal, and then here is where we're gonna add pressure. Let's get this hooked up and see if we can get started. Whew. This was my first dent of the FMF Gnarly two-stroke pipe off of my Sherco 300. You can see I'm moving extremely slow, and I'm using a lot less air pressure than I do later on as I get a little bit more efficient at using the kit. The manufacturer of the two-stroke pipe repair kit recommended starting with about 35 PSI and going up to about 75. In the long run, I wound up having to be somewhere between 80 PSI and 90 PSI to get these dents out. You can see this is my first dent. It doesn't come out all that bad, but it did take me a while. All in all though, it doesn't look that bad. The 2 dents above the big dent were actually a little bit more difficult than they would look firsthand. That one that I'm working on right now is very small, and so you have to get it really hot for it to try to get out the dent, let alone the kind of metal puncture. And then the second one next to that is actually right there on the weld. And so being there on the weld, I was very precarious. I was very worried about what was gonna happen there and how that was gonna go down, but I really just tried to keep the same pattern of working the heat into the inside, and then really trying to put it around that weld so that we could try to get it to pop back out a little bit. In the long run, it actually came out pretty good. The small dent is still a little bit of a ding, and then at the weld, there's still a little bit of a pinch. All in all, not too bad. And here we are, the biggest dent of the dents. And it's interesting because this is the one that I thought was going to be the hardest dent, but in the long run, it was actually the easiest dent. I just brought heat to it consistently, kept moving around the torch, and you can see all of a sudden it just slowly started to bubble up and out. And I feel like it's because of the fact that there's just a little bit more real estate. Like the pinch of the dent looked worse, but because it was a little bit bigger, it actually started to have a little bit more pressure to be able to pull itself out. I kind of tried to clean it up to see if I could get out some more of the dents. I figured this is where a true professional would maybe bring out a hammer and kind of try to flatten out some of those wrinkles, but in the long run, I'm super happy with the way this one turned out. These small dents at the bottom of the pipe that I'm calling the pin prick dents, really, they're not that deep or that big. They're just very sharp and very quick. And these seemed much harder to get out. Maybe with a lot more pressure and honestly a lot more heat to melt the metal, you could probably get a little bit more out of these, but I really just wanted to get the form and the shape of the pipe back. And now that I've done that, I feel pretty good about my first pipe blowing experience, especially because nobody died. Holy crap, that was nerve-wracking, but I had eye protection. I went slow. I used matte gas because it's a little bit hotter than propane, and honestly, it turned out pretty good. The one that you see here was the worst of all of the dents that I had, and to be honest, it was the easiest. And I think that that's just because you have so much more real estate to work with. You heat up a nice big spot, and you can see it kind of just sponge its way back out. It was the smaller ones that you see throughout the pipe that were really hard to work with. And honestly, I just don't think that I'm gonna worry too much about it. This was a first run to get the kit, to try it out, to see what I could learn. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit with this. Obviously ask questions. If I did anything that was completely wrong, you don't have to call me out. Well, okay, that's what the comments are for. You can call me out, but let everybody know how they could do a better job in the future. If you did see something that I should not have done, of course, if you do have questions, hit the comments up and ask those questions. If I don't have an answer, I promise you we will find somebody or someone will hit that up and they will give you an answer. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Give the subscribe, give the likes, give all the thumbs up. I'm hoping to go get some seat time this weekend, get back out on the shirt coat and go brah. If we don't get a chance to see you on the trail, at least we'll get to see you on the internet. Till the next one, peace. Two-stroke Piper care. I got this two-stroke Piper care. Wow. I got this two-stroke pipe repair. I got this two-stroke pipe repair. What?